It's showtime. How's everybody doing out there? I hope you guys can hear me okay. Welcome back. Let's get this thing going. There we go. All right. Give everybody a few minutes to get here. Make sure everything's working okay. I know it's probably going to be a small crowd tonight because I haven't been around for a while. So we're right now I'm on PV Rivers. I see a few there. My list just got updated. There's everybody. Welcome everyone to the show. It's been a while. Been on vacation and had a great time. Hope you guys enjoyed your summer. This is like the start of my modding season for Farm Sim, really. Right after I get done with my August vacation with my daughter, then I get right back into it. Now, where we left off, we had a map add-on contest to which we only had one entry, so we have a first place winner already. And that entry was by Tony. I don't know if Tony's out there, but I don't know his Twitch name. I can't remember which Tony is which. But Tony won with his edition, and you guys can get it by typing exclamation point something. What did I do it is? Let me check here real quick. Exclamation point wood chips, all one word. WOODCHIPS. I'll type that in too. Get that link. It's also in the release folder, right in the main folder, but there you go. Direct link to his add-on, which is working without errors, and it actually kind of cool. Let me find out where I was here. I hate this Steam thing. You jump out and Shift Tab makes you move vehicles as well. Alright, so Tony's add-on was this wood chip conveyor and the wood chips display above right on the building there. So all you got to do is drop that in your add-ons, in your mods folder, that add-on, and you will get that added in to your map automatically with no problems at all into an already started game, whatever you want to do. And it works. As you can see, just drive over to the square and your wood chips load if you stay in the square. Now the trailer's a little bit low for the conveyor, but hey, much easier loading your wood chips that way than and you're able to see the count without going into your PDA. So thanks Tony for that, and everybody I'm sure will appreciate it. Check your email if you're out there listening. I sent you information on what I need for you and then I'll get you your prize of $100. And that, once I dump these wood chips, let me get them back in here. I didn't pull close enough to the bin. Gotta spin around. So anyway, on my vacation, it was a lot of fun, and I could not have done any of it without the support that you guys have given me. I was able to do quite a bit with my daughter. That's why. So it's your fault I wasn't here. But I appreciate it a lot, and she did too. We actually went on a glider ride, which was pretty awesome for my 50th birthday. We went up in gliders. We were towed up by a plane to 3,700 feet and then released and glided back down. It was about a half-hour flight. That was the highlight, but that was really awesome. And she loved it too. My daughter loved it. Got to spend my birthday with both my daughters, so it was really a great time. Went camping, did all sorts of things this time. Let's see. That's all I wanted to show you guys. Congratulations, Tony. Thanks for entering. I told you guys to enter anything because I don't have to give away the second place prize, but I will save that edition of Farming Simulator 17 that we didn't give out for another day, and we will make what do you use lime for? KGB Farmer, you can use it to fertilize fields actually with this spreader right here. You just fill it with lime, and I got some in there already, you can see, and just spread it on your fields and you can fertilize with your lime. So anyway, we're going to go back to continue the making of PV17, and during the time my daughter was here, I did have a little bit of time here and there, and I got some extra stuff done. So we're going to load that map up right now. Let's quit out of this. Switch everything over to that map, which would be, I'm not even going to run the Steam version anymore. We need to switch to the new map folder and run Farming Sim. Alright, so basically I did get a little bit ahead, but I'm going to show you guys what I did because I want to teach you guys how to do different things as well as we go through this series of making this map. And there are some things that I kind of went a little bit ahead of what I was, so I'll go back and show you how I did those things. It's relatively simple. The main thing is you don't have to watch me paint as many mountains anymore because that is done. So we can, right now I'm actually in the step of trying to figure out what's going where and build road networks and everything. And you will see some changes. I imported some buildings and stuff, and I moved the vehicle shop as well. So we're going to jump in and I'll show you a little bit of what we've got here. And we'll get on with the show. Let's see. Get my truck. Alright, so as I said, I started building the road network and bringing in objects that don't have much function, if any function at all. A lot of these objects may not stay in the map. For instance, this right down here, definitely the museum stays. Ooh, we have a subscribe for 2 months, WRT2547. Thank you so much for resubscribing. So the museum is in. It needs to be updated. We'll be working on that in this time period. It's a good time to get that updated. It isn't updated right now. I just placed it in the map where I think I wanted it to be. I put a temporary, I don't know if this bridge is going to stay. I like the bridge, but it's kind of a long span for this type of bridge to get to the other side. So, you know, it's never, nothing here is actually set in stone. It's all, you know how it works around here. We do I'm just getting a feel for how I want everything. Things may change, like that rocks there. I have a hole in the back side of that one there. That's no good. But just getting an idea of how to make this map. So I imported some buildings to try to give you guys a feel for the concept of this map. And I put the vehicle shop right down here as well. I don't know if I'll use this vehicle shop yet. I like the design. I do not like that stupid flashing line. And a little bit later, we'll see if we can remedy that situation right there. And the window panes. I didn't notice that until after I imported this vehicle shop. I like the looks of it, but those all that flashing that's going on, if we can't fix it, we're going to find another vehicle shop to use. Because that would drive me nuts, seeing all that flashing around the base all the time. But the size of it's perfect, and everything else, just not sure. If we can't remedy that situation, then we'll bring something else in for a vehicle shop down here. But this is where I want the vehicle shop to be. Not too far from the main farm. It's a little bit more toward the center of the map. Not exactly center, but it's where it is. So we shall see. Now, road network, I'm trying to pay attention quite a bit. I just laid down some gravel and put some guardrail along the cliff. You'll notice I also imported a water plane down below, and it needs work. I'll discuss that in a little bit, tell you what I see. I don't know if you guys can see, but things that need to be corrected. This will keep people from driving off of the cliff and down into the water. The guardrail, you can hit it pretty good and it ain't gonna let you through. I'm sure one of you guys will figure out a way to get over the guardrail though, but it follows the cliffside. So we have Cliffside Drive or Overlook Drive or something. I'm going to put the road signs in this time as well. And I'll show you how we imported the objects. It's just a simple guardrail piece duplicated all the way down the side. And I've got a pull-off parking area on this side of the road so you can check out the view. The sunrises are awesome here, overlooking the valley and the water down below. I decided to put water in because why not? You never know what mods are going to come out, and we can utilize. I want to do something different with fishing this time around if we can. And you can't do fishing without water. So I put the water in. I'm not sure it's going to stay that big or be there, but we'll take a look down below a little bit later. And we've got a few things to fix with that as well. It's really just roughly dropped in there. I put a house here at the end of the street, but you'll see we're entering the first farm area. What I did was I fenced in an area that I want all the... I'm going to show you... we're going to do the water plane again in a few minutes there, Nader. So we'll give you an idea on how that's done. I know that those are the things you guys need to know. So I'm going to redo it because it's really relatively simple. But this is the effect. I mean, I can't do the foliage layers and stuff yet, but these are all objects that have no function. Like I said before, some of the buildings will be replaced, especially when we get the new map out. I do want this to be a USA map, so we're using USA buildings style, and most of these barns are from Westbridge Hills and other maps that I found because I don't do models. So we're trying to keep it but as the new barns come in and the new functional animals and stuff, we're going to have to replace some of this stuff and make it look a little bit different. But overall feel, the way the road systems are going to be, you're still going to have to, we'll work on the farm up here once we know what's coming in. These garages may or may not have to go because the doors will not open. I didn't actually even activate the scripts yet. Yeah, as you can see, you can try. Oh, I really messed that up. I didn't activate the scripts to open the doors because we don't know if the animation map trigger version is going to work or not. And I'm not going to get into doing that stuff until I'm sure it will work because it's going to be a complete waste of time. But I would like to use that building there if we can. If not, we probably might have to replace the door script or something. It's all up in the air, so it's really just a design layout type thing right now to kind of get a feel for how things will be. I want this whole area down here that's fenced in to be the cow zone on the right hand side, right up at the main farm. Well, because I want to be able to drive down this long field and see cows this time, not tucked away in a corner, but actually see the cows roaming in the fields and stuff, and it's right on the side of the road. So that is some of the work I've done, and we'll show you how to do the fencing and stuff as well as some minor technical issues that you gotta kind of watch out for. While I'm at it, a lot of people have always asked, how do I know what to do? How can I start a map and not know if it's going to work if it's when FS17? I really am sticking to very basic things. And I'm not sure this map will work and be able to be converted without me taking the parts of it, which I do know how to do, because if they haven't changed anything, hey, you never know. They could change something totally. But it has stayed consistent. The files for the terrain height and stuff have stayed consistent through 11, 13, 15, 17, or 15 versions. So I'm assuming that it'll be relatively the same, and I'll show you that in a minute as well. One of the things I wanted to make a note of, if you look here out to the water, you'll see like a greenish, I don't know if you can make it out, but right out in the middle, I'm looking for a cursor and I don't have any mods installed to bring it up, but basically right above the truck there's like a greenish area that goes up the mountain. It doesn't look realistic. It's like some little, and it's all around the edges where the water meets the tall cliffs, and that's the only place you see it, because if I didn't bring the water right to the tall cliff edge, it would be a much smaller area that wouldn't be noticeable, and it doesn't look natural. So I'm gonna have to kind of build a false cliff down there, maybe even make it so you can drive right around the whole lake. in order to get rid of those little dark areas in the distance. It just doesn't draw in right. But it's fixable. Like I said, I just did the water really quickly. All the mountains, everything are pretty much in the, as far as the terrain, there's definitely going to be a lot of shaping and moving things and maybe making passageways as I continue the road network. One of the things also, as you're doing this, if you're starting the map early, you got to also take into consideration, basically what I do is take into consideration what's happened in the past and try to get as much information as we can about the map that's, the new Farming Simulator 17. So we're not necessarily going to do work on projects. I put Pete's Diner in here too. Kind of thought it was a cool place for it if we use it. But anyhow, not actually going to work on things that are possibly going to change. For instance, the animals we know are getting a complete overhaul. No sense of drawing the animal navigation meshes, bringing in the old animal barns and all that stuff. And obviously Marhu's water mod isn't going to be even needed because the animals are going to have their own water this time, finally. So all that stuff, we're going to just say this area is for that, and we're going to move on. I'm just putting in the objects that have no function at all. And the other thing, you guys, if you're going to start a map early when you're doing the terrain, and it's making things very difficult for me right now, is the train system. We're going to be able to drive the trains, but we don't know yet how they're implemented. They're implemented as a vehicle. So my guess is it's a vehicle that is on the rail from the start of the game and can't get off the rail. And you drive it around and it turns with the rail. But we really don't know all the specifics, like how steep of a grade can it climb? How can it even go up hills? I did see in the videos it does go up slight uphills. So implementing that, we definitely want to keep room for... It's one of the new features that people are going to want to use. So you're going to want to, at least I think, it definitely has to go in the map and be utilized well, moving things from factory to factory or from the wood zone. So it's got to be able to traverse most of this map. And if these drop-offs are too high, we're going to have to level some out a little bit so the train system can get all the way down here and run throughout the entire map. It would be kind of cool. But you could see a lot of the terrain, all the buildings, all the mountains around. I kind of did a quick, got them where I want and the drop-offs where I want. And now it's time to fill in a lot of this area, build the road network. Road networks are interesting. I'm going to try to keep you guys so you use the roads more, and we'll figure out ways to do that as we go around. Sort of like that first area where I have the cliff on the one side, rows of houses. We're going to have more detail in the map just to keep you from driving across field after field after field. So down here is the water, and it is a complete loop system right now. So if we do end up getting a ferry in here, I picture the factories and stuff being along the waterfront so they'd be accessible, and that's why I put in a lot of water. If we bring in factories, I want to utilize the ferry. You never know if we can or not, but I'm leaving the options open for utilizing boat travel more in the map as well. So the water does do a whole complete loop with lots of flat shoreline around it, but it goes all the way around the map. And it may get thinner in places or wider in places. It's really just rough cut into there. And I did like the way I brought it around where you got narrow strips actually along the sides as well. So you can put buildings or fields down the side, maybe even be able to flood fields. Don't know yet. Have to see what happens along the waterfront. And so didn't do too much. It's really not a lot, but it was some time consuming work, and we'll show you exactly what I did to get those pieces in. Now let's go, and we'll experiment a little bit tonight too, I think, because I want to to try some new things out as well with the water itself. But all that green edge there can easily be get rid of if I put a ledge like the short one just before the long ledge. Then it will reflect only on the short ledge, like right where I am here, instead of up the walls of the mountain. And it's a distance thing with the water reflection climbing up the walls. It kind of looks a little bit funky. All right, let's go back up to, well, I don't even know where I am. So you could kind of get an idea. There's going to be, I've got a lot of ideas of what I expect this map to be. Got a new truck because I didn't feel like driving all the way back up here. Got a lot of ideas of what I want the map to be and how I want it to play. And I know the last map especially, we were discussing this with it. There's so much in that map that it almost, we got to get back to the roots of the farming is what I feel. I don't know about you guys, but we want to make it so that the farming is, the number one thing. So there's a lot of redundancy in the map too that we could take out. For instance, a lot of building that just takes a lot of time. We've got to cut down on that, I think. I'd love to hear your guys' suggestions as we're going. Hey, there he is. Tony Zoo. What's up? He says, help. So this is the kind of feel I want to get where you're driving around the map up here and in different areas. And there's actually scenes. I purchased, well, actually that was a free download from Turbo Squid, that building. And I brought it in because it was an American style building. So that's completely new. The rest of them, though, are from Westbridge right now. There's not a lot of, if you guys see any good American houses and stuff just for decor, we're going to bring in more of the detailed stuff when we get like the grass and the weeds and the flowers and the clotheslines and the picnic tables and stuff. You got to remember they're going to have objects that can be moved by hand as well. So I'm not going to bring those in right now because we might be able to make things that you can pick up and actually place in the map, like arrange your own table and chairs on your front porch, that type of thing. We're not sure yet. Exclamation point points to check your point balance there, Tony. Anybody wants to check your points? Well, I will say this. Too bad you can't have a choice. Factories are built already or have to be built personally. Like building them, but it does take a while. That is true. The building process for the factory, I'm not going to say any, we don't even know if the scripts that allow us to do it will even be out there, so I'm not even going to speculate, but things are going to be different with probably not as much intense building, but maybe even just going with the little projects like a bridge here or something there, but we'll definitely be figuring all that out as time goes on. Right now it's all about laying out the map and where things are going to be. And this way, literally, I just wanted to show you guys, we went down that other road. If you were to get to this side of the map by going the other way, it's going to be a long way around. It's a long loop. So you're going to have decisions to make on where you're going. That's the whole point. I want this to have a single-sized map feel, but maybe larger fields, but we got to fill in a lot more of the stuff rather than field after field after field and factory after factory. We're going to do a little bit more. How do you keep vehicles from making grown crops from disappearing? Hit your slash mark on that map, Rivers. It's a one with the question mark. Just hit the slash key, go to the settings wheel on that menu, and then turn on wheels damage crops on field. You just set that to off. That should help you there. Crazy Branger or Branger or however you say it. Hope that helps you out. So there's going to be more defined roads. We're going to put some I want it to be accessible. You know me. I don't want to have fields that are impossible to get to. So the passageways are wide enough to move equipment through, but you're going to be traveling. There's so many features that they say are coming in, such as working another farm's fields in order to gain reputation to be able to purchase it. I don't know if it's going to be, but that's the way I understand it. And we're going to look into the features that they bring us, the new stuff, and get that in first before we get into any of the additional stuff that. And we're going to have to wait for script writers to get their updates, I'm sure, and new mods to come out for the new version. So it's going to be a long process, and I don't expect the first release of this map to be much more than a 4x map that is like one of the ones that's released, just a better version, bigger. And so we'll see, and then we'll add stuff to it as time goes on. Let me get out of here, and we'll get into fixing and doing some work on the map in the editor. So, new map. And we open up that map file right here. Alright. Importing a water plane. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I did with that first, because that's a important thing to remember how to do. And several things. It's easy. Your water plane is going to have to be, I didn't want to put that there. But it's there. Get rid of that. I'll close the material editing pane. Alright, so yeah, we've got the flashing line around there. First thing, we'll take a look at that. If we can separate the white part of the line, which I literally have to go through each of these and see if it's a separate piece or if it's actually attached to it, and it appears to be attached to the main building. So that's going to be pretty annoying. Yeah, it's all part of that one piece. The white line is just not offset far enough from that. So if we can't isolate that in the graphic and make it invisible, then we won't be able to use that building, and I'll have to find something else. So what we'll do is highlight the building, and then we'll bring up the material editing window. And up here it tells you what material we're using, and it doesn't have anything selected for that one. There's a drop down list. We need to find the one background color. Alright, so there is a color texture 1 appears to be white. Let me click on that. See if we can find an all white texture. It would be in where I imported the vehicle shop. So where did I put that? Models, map, models, buildings, vehicle shop. And we've got lobby, brand wall, shaders, new models, shop. I am looking for a solid white. That's the window right there. Window diffuse, it says it is. If there's a solid white box, let's check the deco. Nope, that's the Tractor Supply sign. It doesn't appear. We can change the pictures. These pictures are actually on the walls inside. Let's see, there's more folders with more objects. Cardboard cutouts and the flagpole wouldn't be in there. Paint white diffuse. Very possibly could be that one. So let's go into that folder. Oops, close that down. We're going to do an experiment here. Let's go to map, models, buildings, the vehicle shop. I think it was in models, objects. Nope. World. Paint white diffuse right here. I'm going to open that up in my editor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all, It's in this is paint.net. I'm going to delete it. Now, if I save it as a DDS file, I'm going to replace it with a clear DXT5 texture, and then we're going to reload the textures. And this button right here is reload all textures. So let's get the white line so it appears, so we know if it disappears. And it's finicky, you can see it flashing. Alright. Reload textures. And basically I just turned that white to a clear. If it doesn't work, we're just going to undo my changes and then bring it back to where it was. But it's black. It wasn't actually saved as a transparent object, but I do have the right graphic. It has a black shine to it now. So let's go and see exactly what we did here. Let's see. The truck dealer. That is the one I did. And I didn't save it as a transparent object, apparently, because I'm not used to this. Normally I do it in GIMP to make it transparent. So let's go over there and do the same thing. Open that with GIMP. I'm much better with GIMP sometimes on certain things. You just got to get used to it. It's been so long since I turned something invisible. Apparently that just emptied it and made it black. But let's try it over here. File, open. Find my map. Models. There it is. Select all. Now if I delete it in here, let's see. File, export as. And we'll use no bitmaps, and let's see if that worked this time. I don't want it black, I just don't want it to even be there, because the black will flash too. If it's completely transparent, we won't see it. And it's back to white. We can find a transparent graphic and replace it. That's for sure. But I know that that's the graphic that we need. So let's go over here. Back to GIMP. File, new. OK. Select all. I'm going to edit, cut. It should be transparent graphic. I don't know why. I can't remember how to do it. Flatten image first, and then let me try that over here. Merge visible layers. Image. Da-da-da-da. What do I want? Transparency, we can do it. Color to alpha. Wait, there we go. File. Export. And yeah, so just use a color to alpha. That'll definitely put it on the alpha channel. No color. Oh, did I export the right file? Yeah, it's alright. Let's see if it worked. Get it back where it's showing. If I can get the color to disappear completely, then it won't flash. It'll just show it behind it. Reload the textures back in. And it didn't appear to do it. Well, I'm going to continue working on that at some point. I'll figure out how to get it out of there. That white, or we're going to get a new vehicle shop. But I should be able to get it. For some reason, it's not making it disappear. If I remove the texture completely, I wonder if I have a clear texture. It's showing, yeah, it's definitely showing as a black and white image. Still, we got to get that out of there. Whoa. Is that all I had to do? Reselect? Alright, there it is. It was right. I just had to reselect the image after I saved it. So it's gone. We did it. I don't have the annoying flashing of that white bar because it's using a clear texture, which is fine by me. I'd rather have it not have that white border than have, and it's used all the way around, so we might have to do a little bit of building a block box or something around the front so it looks normal and you're not hitting it. I hope it wasn't used on the fences. No, fences are good. Take a look around the building, make sure it wasn't used all over the place. I think it was just those borders. It was used on the lines here. That's another thing you got to look at whenever you do one of these editing things. So we'll bring in new parking lot lines and make sure that we're not bumping into an invisible rail there by bringing in an object to put underneath it. And when I say bringing in an object for this part, we can make one really quickly if you go to the create primitives and we'll create a cube. What that does is it puts a cube in your map that you can literally resize, reshape, retexture the way you want by using the scale options here. So let's see, if we went to bring it like, we want to cover that area that's invisible right here. So if we bring it to like 15, let's go 20 for now. Double that length. That looks like it would work. Because you don't want people hitting that invisible ledge, basically. I'm going to try, and there are other ways to do this. You could bring in any object. Whoa, not that big. You can bring in something a little bit, but I'm just giving you an idea of a simple solution is to make a box that covers that whole box. So we need it a little longer and move it down this way. I'll probably bring in planters or something to put in here, but you can bring in an object, and that's what we're going to end up doing is just bring in an object so that they're not bumping into an invisible thing. I may even just bring another slab of cement rather than this white texture cube, but that you just stretch it out there and you can hide where they would normally bump into. The rest of it has an edge, but those don't, so you got to look for it whenever you're messing around with something like that. The building can still be usable, but I'm pretty sure if we hit this sidewalk, we'll check next time we're in, we're going to jump up in the air. So we'll do something with that. The other thing was this reflection that you don't see in the editor. There was a reflection all the way around the base of the mountain. And literally what I need to do to fix that is just bring my height tool and let me get the terrain attributes. Undo. We're going to use the replace option and left control R to notice it goes back to remove. Sometimes this is a little bit tricky. Got to see the replace value change to what's underneath the cursor. And there it is 50. Alright, so I'd have to literally, to get rid of that reflection, just build some type of small ledge all the way around the base of these mountains. And we'll see if we can do that. That way it will reflect up the short edge and not up the whole entire side of the mountain. You guys won't see it, and it looks really goofy in the game. Probably not something that you can really see very well on the stream, but it has to go. So we're gonna just bring a little ledge all the way around here. We can make this wide enough, and we may, to drive a vehicle all the way around on a very tight road like a shortcut, but you gotta watch your step or you're going to be getting wet. So we'll bring that all the way around the edge. There's some places that the reflection didn't happen because it already has the edge slightly around it. And there's even grass planted over here. Yeah, there's some edging already here. This is too sharp. Got to bring it down. And next thing I will show you is how to import a water plane, and then we're going to look at ways that we can edit a water plane. There's options. I don't know a lot about water planes. I've messed with them. There's so many different types of water that are out there that you may not like this style of water, but one of the important things that I like that makes it super easy, and this one is literally directly imported from PV rivers. It's the same water. But some of you guys might not like the actual texture of this water. And I don't know if I want to do the same type of water because it doesn't really show up from the cliff types from up above very well. It blends into the ground a little bit. So I was looking to get something that looked a little bluer but not too blue. So we'll take a look at that. See if we can find something and mess with numbers. And show you guys how to place your water plane in your map. And it has to be on the lowest level of your map. Well, technically it doesn't, but it's much easier to do it that way. It usually floods everything that's above it. Even if the water plane, because it's like your base sea level. You definitely need a water plane for your base sea level, but you can get away with putting additional ones in. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky with not being a collisionable water plane. We're going to wrap right around here. Hey KW, good to see you tonight. What we're going to do while I'm finishing this up, on Thursday, don't know if you guys have been following along, but Farm Expert is being released on Thursday. And yes, it's not Farming Sim, but it is a different game, and they have made improvements, and we're going to test it out. I'm going to get it, and on Thursday night, if it's out in time and everything comes, it's going to be $18.99 on Steam. I'm going to pick up a copy, and we'll take a look at it first time. Test the multiplayer. Hopefully I can get one of the other guys in there to test it out with me in multiplayer. It's supposed to have modding available. We'll take a look at that. Maybe not on Thursday, but possibly Friday. I've got to try to do a Thursday-Friday show if the Farm Expert's ready. Not saying that we're going to take, but it deserves a look, and it's a different style farming. And I think that for now, my wall's going to be much better, not have as much of the glare. We'll check it out when we get in game there. Water plane is... And I like to use a full map water plane. It just makes it so much easier. That's why I imported the same one that I had from the PV Rivers map. It literally is centered. It covers a whole 4x map. I can, on the lower level of the map, which is all the way down there, I can literally go into it and take my cursor and left control R to the base, which is only 10 meters lower than the land height, and I can carve out water anywhere I want. Now when you do this, you will notice And this is that little bug that they have. I'm just going to do a little cove. I'm going to probably end up erasing some of this anyway. But just to show you guys, I'll leave it there for now. Notice how the water texture still stops because the plane is not redrawn. In order to actually get the water texture back there, we need to save the map. Hey, thank you for the follow there, Chocapic, and Scott Dude followed while I wasn't online, along with Jack1254, or yeah, 124589. It's been quite a few people. Twisted Slim, Barry1949. If any of you guys are out there, thank you for the follows. So, in order to get the water plane to show up, save. When you cut out a new area, get back to our map, and just reload it back up. And then when you save it the next time, well, the water will appear as soon as we load it back up. But if you want to see how it looks, you do have to save and reload, so it redraws at the beginning. When you load up, it redraws with the water texture in there. Now, come on, load up. There you go. So I didn't paint the under the water yet, but you can see the water redrew right back in where we cut out the area. And we can then take the rock bottom, switch to rock, terrain painting tool, and we now have a cove. And like I said, this water, I don't know where it's really going to be. I was just putting some, so I don't care if I leave the cove in for now. It might come out later. Who knows? I might expand it. But for now, and that's really all I did for the water is, and you can see the edges are rough. As I get into each area, I get into the more detail and fixing all this overlap of rock and stuff for doing the water. Now, to import a water plane is as simple as this, and I'm going to show you guys by turning that off, get my cursor back on my water plane, delete it. My water plane no longer exists in the map. It's gone. No water plane. Sorry. And what you do is, I'm going to go out here. I'm leaving that map. If you have a powerful computer, you can do it. You might have to shut this down if you don't, because opening up the PV Rivers map and another map at the same time with the editor might make it a little bit difficult to move around. And this one will take a little bit of time to load in. And we'll explain to you exactly what makes that one of those water planes that actually... Now, interestingly enough, it doesn't work in PV Rivers where you go in the water, as you all well know. And that is because of the conflict with this water plane, the whole script set. We have that type of water there that actually it rewrote the collision so it would have collision, but for some reason we couldn't get it to have the collision on this water plane. But the attributes are set already, so you want to make sure you have the water plane created. And what you do, you'll find in the user attributes of the water plane on the map, it will have the onCreate function, on environment onCreate water, and that's what makes it the water. It calls the script to make it water that when you drive a vehicle into it, it makes throws you out of the vehicle. So if you export this water plane with that in there into any other map, it works. It just doesn't work in this one because of that other script set. So you just want to go to File, Export Selection with Files, and what I do is I go to my map, and right in the base folder where you have your map01 i3D file, you create the water plane file as it is here. And I'm going to just save and overwrite the one we have in there. As simple as that. That's all you do. It exports it with the proper files. You'll see down in, if you have your script console open, It brings in your water shader and all that fun stuff that it needs as well. Just a water shader, and Grundwasser DDS is the water file. And it creates an i3D file into, and I literally put it right into the map we're working on. And it's right in the map folder right there. So to bring it in, we go back to this map, click on your little import i3D file, click on the water plane. And one thing that we did, and there it is, right at the bottom. It really doesn't matter if it's the only water plane where it falls. But one thing is, it was off-center on the map because of the way the last map was designed. So you can see it overhangs there, but it doesn't cover all the way there, over this way. So you just want to reset your translation values all to 0, 0, and then the y value, x and z are set at 0. The y value is your height. And I know that just by going like this, grabbing the green arrow and bringing it down, that it has to go all the way down to the base level. And the y, I had it set for, yeah, anywhere around there. Riz76, thank you for the follow. So, pretty simple. You'll notice as well that, yeah, bring it up to just below the level that you want it. We may have to, if the ferry script works or we get boats, bring in the other planes, but right now I'm just doing the water. And we'll bring it up to the edge, and maybe a little bit lower. You can also fine-tune it by just using the value right here. I'm going to bring it to 49, so it's a meter below the actual land. And that's pretty much all you need. You'll see the environment on create water is right here. And it will function fully as a water plane. And because it's one that covers the whole lower level of the map, one of the things, remember, we just brought it in so you can see that the water texture is not there in certain places. So once again, once you bring in the water plane for the first time and have it positioned right, just save. It's a pain in the butt. I don't know why it does it. Actually, I wonder if, now this is something. Let's reload all textures and see if it fixes it. I have never tried that before with the water plane. It may not. My guess is it probably won't. Nope. We still have no water actually visible. So we'll exit and open the map. It's easy to do in the beginning because the map's so small it actually loads up pretty quick. And this is quick, yes. For those of you who are using the Giants editor, you'll notice right up at the top it always says not responding. If you get that, don't think it didn't work. Any map I've ever worked on always says it's not responding, but it's actually still loading in. So there you go, the water is drawn in. Now, what in this next part, I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do it. We're going to experiment with the water, though, and see if we can get a different effect on it. And not necessarily my final effect, but I should have had, let's see, we had different water in, basically, if you see really cool water in a map, let's take a look at, because I have so many maps on here, let's go back to PV17 version 2. That definitely had different water, and I'll load that one up, and we're going to take a look at some things here. As I take a drink. Bob Austin 123, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the host. And Amaki's out there. So you guys excited? Getting down to the nitty gritty. What do we got? About a month and a half left before Farming Sim 17. It looks pretty good. It looks like they concentrated more on getting some features in. We'll have to see how it turns out. But we will get this to work one way or another, and I'm going to show you guys some tricks. So the water is much less wavy, different texture, and I'm going to just use this for an example. This I think is the default water texture on this water plane. What you can do is export the selection with files of any water plane that you like the texture of to, and I'm going to just put this one on my desktop because I don't want it to be in the map, and we'll put it in a folder here so I can find it, all the files needed, and we'll name it water plane and then click save. So I basically just took that water plane the same way. We could import this one, but it's not a full square for the whole map. And actually, before I go out, it's literally the edge water plane that was in the default map, Bjorn Home. So that's why it's the weird shape, half circle. You can place this in, and if you're going to, like we did in PV17 version 2, and just use this water plane as it is. But it doesn't allow me to do water out beyond those edges, and you don't see the edges once they're hidden. I'm not going to save that, but we're going to go out to the desktop, and in my new stuff folder, because this is awesome, you guys, fences for desktop, I know where these files are going to appear whenever I save them. Oh, that's the wrong folder, but it's in the water plane folder. What we're going to do is take that water plane, and we're going to edit it with Notepad, and we are going to see that it's using the Ocean Shader XML file, and it's setting reflective maps and perimeters all in this material. Normal map file ID is number 2, so it's using the water normal PNG file. Basically, we could take this, and if we go to our other map, let's compare by going to the new map that we're working on, and we'll open that water plane i3D as well. And I'm going to close everything to the left of this. There we go. So we just have this water plane, the first one and this is the other one. You'll notice that it's running a different shader. So what you basically have to do is bring in the Ocean Shader XML file by taking, actually you could literally do the file ID number 2, but you got to make sure you put it in the same place. Copy the whole path right into this one. So we'd need to change the IDs and stuff. Actually, this one's using for the Ocean Shader XML file ID number 2. File name, we'll take the file name from this one, the Ocean Shader. File name shaders, Ocean Shader XML. We're going to copy that part, and that's file ID 3. So if I basically move these around, change the shader right here, and then go put that shaders Ocean Shader XML from the other map. Let's go to this one, and we're going to go into our map file and go into shaders, and it might even be here already, but it isn't. We'll drop the Ocean Shader right into the appropriate folder where it's looking for it. So I just changed the water shader. We don't need that one open right now. I got so many maps open. Now, did I save that? file ID 2. So I'm replacing the water shader right now. That's all I did. Just take a look. See what it looks like. If it doesn't work out, then you can, and you don't like it, you can always go back to, we're going to reload the textures and it should reload the shader. You might have to even re-import the water plane again if you don't see anything happen. And I think you might with the because it's calling the shader, it's not actually a texture. So let's delete it and re-import the water plane from, make sure you load the right one up, desktop, and open the water plane, and there it is. You'll see the texture changed ever so slightly, but let's get it down to where it has to be. If you remember the values, it's real easy. And we need to, alright, so the shader didn't do a ton. It did change it a little bit. I don't even know if you guys can notice that. But you got the other values you can mess with as well. So here you have the material, the water material. And if we take this, normal map file ID equals 1. This is the one we're working on. We're going to take this one. So let's bring in the texture water normal PNG because this is using this normal map file. So waternormal.png from that same folder, which is, I think, open on my desktop. You're going to look for this water normal. It's a DDS. It always says PNG, but just copy that one. And you want that to go in to where it's looking for it, which is textures. I'm going to just put it in textures and just paste it. Just got to know where it is. Textures waternormal.dds. So let's go back to the editor, and we're going to exactly take this file name equals textures waternormal.dds. That is for this material. I know this is a long thing, but the normal map file ID 2. Just make sure it says normal map file ID 1, so we're replacing file ID 1 and the path to the textures water normal PNG. Now it's going to call that normal map. Once you have that done in here, you can literally go in and take this the reflective value all the way to the blend depth and the custom perimeters, and copy those, everything other than the normal, because we're going to keep the same file ID, and replace them with this one right here, and save it. And literally we just switched that full water plane to, we got to delete it again. And if all worked out well and I didn't mess anything up, when we import the water plane, it'll look exactly, let's put it in the right place. And find where there's water. It actually does show it. It's just very hard to see the reflect. We brought it in. Let's save it and reload. It might have just killed it. It looks like it's not even there with those values. Did we get any errors? No errors, but let's save it and bring it back up and see if it redraws it. So you can mess with the values, make it look a little different. Try to find something. I want to find something that's a little bit bluish tint. There are colors and stuff to the water planes too, and I don't think I'm going to keep. I like the way the waves work in that other one. I just want it to be a little bit different, but I saved it. Let's load it up and see if we have any water texture to it. I might have messed it up completely. Like I said, we are experimenting. And I have done some of these editing. Some of the things might just, let's get back to the right place. Some of the settings might not just work on that size water plane, but you can get very often them to look the bigger water plane to look exactly like a completely different water plane by changing the files it points to and everything else. There you go. So now it redrew in, and our water literally now looks exactly less wavy, but it looks exactly like it did in the PV17 version 2 map rather than the rivers map. So, and now we have a full water plane that does that. As far as the values, that's where you guys can experiment as well. You could actually probably get the color. I don't know the specific values, but we do now have this water plane that we can edit. And you have a reflection amount, 0.5000, a bump speed scale. I'm guessing that value is how many ripples are in it. 3, 2. I don't know exactly how these work. And the underwater fog color. This one here is probably the last one being 0 usually is black or white. I bet you if you change this, you could get a tint to the water. Now, if you remember, I have done this before years and years ago. I literally was able to change the speed and the reflection amount, and I made Volcano Island, I made the water look like it was lava. So by changing the opacity and everything. So does it use our RGB? I think it uses, oh my gosh, what the heck was it? It's percentage values of, was it RGB? Oh my god, do I still have the link? I had a converter, and it's actually shown in one of my videos. Oh, no, I don't have the link anymore because I lost everything on my computer. But if I go back to one of my videos on how to change colors, there's a website. I'll have to look it up again sometime. Let me check real quick in my commands. I might still have it listed in my commands from way back when we did the map classes. I had pretty much everything in here, so let's see if I can find it. Exclamation point colors. Let me throw that link up there for you guys, and let me click on it so I can load it up. It is converting RGB values hex colors to a percent. So what I did was get your RGB color from a paint program, like you guys all know, and then it's the percent values is what you're going to get. And you can use this little, by exclamation point colors, you can use this color converter. So let's see, if I open up paint.net, I think we can get a palette on there. Let's see. And let's take we want to make a bluish tint, so let's take a color. Can we get the value in this program? I don't remember. There you go. So we got 68, 143, 255. 68, 143, 255. If we go back to our web page and type in 68, 143, 255, the last number being 0, there's the blue, and these are the values you want. 0.2666. Let's go back over here to here. 0.2666. You only need 4 digits, it looks like, so you don't need them all. Then we've got the 0.5607. And the last one being, which page? Over here. 1.0. So do 1.0, and we'll leave the last one 0 for now, because I think that will be, but that's the underwater fog color. I changed it to that blue in the percentage values. Technical stuff, I know, but you can mess with this stuff, and that's what makes your map look different from everybody else's. Let's delete that water plane and reload it back in and see what we did. We might not be very noticeable. Put it at that level, and if it isn't completely noticeable, that last value I think is the clear value, and being set to a level of 0 means it's not going to show up no matter what color you make it. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So let's do a 0.5 on that last one just for the heck of it. See what happens. You might also have to change your reflection amount and the different things to get the effect you want. But like I said, we're experimenting. I've done this before so long ago, and I was actually able to create lava by making a solid red. But it's been so long that actually it doesn't even look like it did much at all. So you can experiment with the other values too. Yeah, it doesn't look like it changed it at all. There's the water. But it probably does have a little bit of a bluish tint that we just don't really see. You have to experiment. And experiment, I did that, tried to get that color blue. Work on the reflection amount. Maybe we need to, I don't know those values, what they stand for. But I'm guessing that if we bring up, just change a value. That's all you can do. I changed it from 0.5 to 1, the first number. Let's bring it in. Maybe there's a guide out there as to what those numbers actually mean. But actually, am I changing the values in the right map? Is that the one I'm using? It's, yeah, okay. I've been known to do stupid things like that. Not use the right water plane, but we're using the right one. So, re-import it, and I already know the position is at 49. And I'm still not seeing anything major changes in the water plane, but something in there you're going to hit and you're going to see a drastic change. I can tell you that once you figure out what those numbers are. And really, it's trial and error. It's HSB or hexadecimal. The colors are actually RGB colors converted to percentage values. That's what those numbers are. So you get an RGB color from, you can do it in Paint by just selecting the color and grabbing the RGB values, and then the website I gave you guys, exclamation point colors, can convert from RGB, and in this box you'll get the 3 numbers that you need for the first 3. And it will work. I don't know what the 4th value, we might have to mess with some of the, like I said, normally when I figure these things out, it's by taking and literally pushing them to the limits. Like, I bet you if we turn all these zeros in the reflection amount to 1s, we're going to see, and maybe even change the underwater fog color to 1, and then save it. Let's see what we just messed up. Let's see what happened. It's all about experimenting. We should have something totally different, because I messed with those pretty bad, but it might not look, no, it's really weird. This one's not changing much at all. It's almost like I'm changing the wrong water plane. We got the waves, the speed scale, but the water doesn't appear to be changing too much. Let's take a look at it's the water mat. Yep, decal A, no, build. What if we turn on like Cast shadow map. Ooh, shadows on your water. You don't want that. Let's see. Other parameters maybe. Nope, nothing that we can change. But messing with the values, eventually you'd figure something out. I don't know exactly which ones they are. I do know we changed the water to the other water, but we're not getting the effect. I bet you it has to do with the object mask number maybe, or there's so many different. Refractive index. What does refractive index mean? These are the reflection and refraction maps, but messing, oh, the specular color. That is probably the one we need to change right there. Let's copy these numbers just for the heck of it right here to the specular color map. There are values that I have no idea which one works, does what, but you're going to hit it because they're, they're values. I don't know everything, but I do know that eventually you're going to make this water look so weird it's going to be different. I'm going to take a look at it in game. That didn't seem to do much either, believe it or not. But it definitely is changed. We've got some bluish tint to the waves. I bet you that's what we did definitely do if we compared the two. Another thing you could do is color the bottom or put another different layer underneath it that's solid but to give it a little bit of a different color. You could literally take and duplicate your water plane and take the water out of it. I duplicated it. I'll move this down. We'll remove the environmental effect. And if we change that it's visible, you can literally change the colors of that second layer so they're solid and it would show through. But I'm not going to do that right now. Let's check out inside. In a minute we'll go in and we'll see. See, I did kind of get a little bit of a blue look there in the distance. You see it right there? It looks a little bluish. We're going to check it out when we get there. What else do we need to do? Oh yeah, the guardrail. Imported this, and I took this out of the PV17 version 2 map because we had some. And I'm going to continue down doing guardrails. This stuff is a pain in the butt, but it has to be done. And I'll show you my method of doing it just for the heck of it. I'm going to take my last piece of guardrail and just Control D to duplicate it. Let's get rid of the material editing panel. It's good to make a folder. You can see there's going to be 1,000 guardrail pieces. Works same way for fences. I like to have them all in the same folder. You can highlight the whole guardrail that's there. Maybe a couple different folders for different areas if you want to, but it's easy to find your guardrails. I just duplicated the last piece right here. Now, there's no real fun way to do this, but if I take that piece and I'm going to come over where I want the guardrail to start again, and I'm going to put it right left Control B and then click, and it goes there. With each piece we have our scale values we don't have to mess with. It's the size of the guardrail piece, no big deal. But the rotation values, set them all to 0. And we are working at pretty much, if I want to start it there, it's like a 90-degree angle. The middle one is the angle, 90. The other ones are actually the X and the Z. We'll show you what I do to use those in a minute, but we have our piece of guardrail starting. Make sure your bottoms are in the ground. Same way with fence, and then just do a if you have it and it's perfectly level like this on a level piece of land to start, when you do Control D and duplicate, you can drag and just butt the ends together. You don't want a lot of overlap or you get the flashing. but make sure your ends are touching so you don't have a gap. Take a look at your legs. You'll notice that those two are floating and the last one. Now if it's not too major difference, you can, like that one, it was very minimal. You can just drag this piece down a little bit. But when you get to certain points, and we'll do another one here, go out. Now we're going to want to turn. Now what I do is I look down what direction I want this to go. And I don't want to do too many jagged lines, so we're going to turn this with this arrow, the green circle, and kind of gauge by looking down the sight of a gun where we want the turn to go, so we can go in a pretty relatively straight line. Once you have it where it is, just butt your ends together. And again, check your legs. Now, we're going to get into a slope that's going to be fun. But if it's, like I said, there's some areas, this literally is a dip, and this is a road, so there's a lot of little things I have to do sometimes, and I'll take a circle, a smaller, much smaller circle, and I'm going to try to, I'm going to try to bring the road up. Alright, it's bringing it down, so let's undo. And instead of the smooth function, I'm going to do the add function, and I'm going to click really fast because I have the value set so much. You see, I just clicked really fast and I flooded it. Not always the greatest way to do it, but then I'll take the smooth function back and smooth that back down, and don't do it as fast as I did. If you want to do it slower, I'm just impatient. You can get so the dip isn't there and your legs are touching, but I kind of, that last click or two went too far on the last one. Yeah, there we go. And you can smooth out the road rather than, and fill in the gap so that the legs are touching. You can definitely notice near the edges, and that would have been a big dip in the road area. So the legs are touching, the road is smooth, no big deal. Continue on by duplicating that piece, and now if we keep dragging along that same line, you're going to expose all of the, there's a dip right there. I don't think it's going to be a problem. We might have to fill it in the same way later, but drag it out and take a look. It looks good. We're going to go right by that edge, expand it down, and keep on going. If the legs are touching, and you're not, also got to look for it getting buried in the ground. If you're going uphill, it'll bury itself, but you'll get a nice straight run by just duplicate, Control D, and then drag that arrow so it's touching. And they go in pretty fast, but it's so repetitive. You do the same thing with fences. Fences are smaller pieces too, so you got to do it more often. And when you get to a point where you have to make another decision to turn, just repeat the process. We're getting a little too close to the edge, so we'll turn the guardrail a little bit this way. And that should be pretty good. And continue on. Now, because we didn't alter the X or Z values, it's a perfectly flat guardrail on the perfectly flat terrain. What you're going to have to do, all we're doing is changing the angle of rotation on it. So as long as the terrain stays flat, this is a perfectly fine thing. Definitely be working the railroad tracks similar to this too when they come in, I'm sure, but they're going to have to be put on the surface. So we're going down, we'll do a slight bend. We're going to just bring it to that point right there. Because this road, we can't have people driving off the cliff. So we'll lie it up where we want to go. We're going to have a pretty sharp bend. I'm going to bring it a little bit more here. And then drag it in so it's touching. Don't have a big gap in there. At least we're not doing mountains today. And I'll do another one. And put that one over here. This was all flat. Now if you were going up and downhill, what you have to do is just look at your legs on there and say this was a drop going downhill like there was. You would turn this wheel, and then if I was to keep going, duplicating it will stay at that slope, and then you got to just gauge when you want to bring it back up, that type of thing, but we're staying level. And sometimes it works if you get really messed up, just bring those values back to 0. Alright, so it does kind of start sloping downhill. I don't even know if I want this piece in. I think, yeah, I do need this piece. So it's a good, because they'll be driving off that edge. So this is a perfect example of we're leaving the ground. We want to get that first one in the ground and then tilt so everything else goes the same. So it's slope downward. Make sure your first end lines up pretty good. And then you could continue on, but I think that's where our road is going to come right down and we don't need guardrail anymore. So that's pretty much all I did with all that guardrail coming through. I'm leaving this open. I might put pieces in here after I figure out what I'm actually going to put in there. Then the next thing I did was grab my texture of, we're going to put add, and we're going to find gravel. We may change the gravel texture to something else down the road, but for now, let's make the circle a little smaller. I like to work with about 4 or something, yeah. And I'm just drawing in a road right along the side. And following my guardrail. And if you kind of stay with the same size circle, your road will be roughly the same size, and then we'll probably end up just bringing the road right down through here somewhere. We'll figure that out later, because I haven't really thought about it. The next thing I do is I look at the edge here. I don't prefer to have the grass in here, so I'm going to go back and change to the rock texture. And I'm going to bring the rock right up to eliminate the grass that's in between. And it all looks good. So you're driving right along the rocky edge of the cliff. And you don't have all the little pieces of grass in there. You'll notice if you look real close, you might have a little bit of green showing through. And we may have to go back and do one more pass with the gravel as well, because like so. Now the edges don't always look pretty, but when you can start putting whatever we put on the side, regular grass or weeds or flowers or whatever, you can really clean up the edges of your road. But also what I do is I take the smooth tool. Now one thing with the smooth tool again, and I always use the left mouse button. There is settings for left and right mouse button, but I don't know why. I always just set everything to the left mouse button. And with the paint selected, you have smooth, and we got to either smooth gravel or grass. In this case, we're going to smooth the gravel, so any smoothing it does on the edge will add gravel rather than take away grass, because rather than add grass, because if we added grass, our road would end up being really small. But you can smooth the edges so they blend in a little bit better. Not so much if you want a sharp road edge, but when you have lots of bends and stuff, you'll literally see the jagged edges on the map, and smoothing that jagged edge out makes it look so much better, in my opinion. If it was a straight road, I do like sharp straight edges, but in this case, it's not. So in my off time, I'll be adding a lot more guardrail and figuring out where I want roads to go. But that's how I did the... Oh, we got a lot of green over here, so we need to go back to the rock texture. I'll put on add again and just bring it right up there. Get that green out. No grass needed. It's so barely noticeable in the editor, but when you're up close and driving on it, it's noticeable, that's for sure. Alright, as you can see, we're still working in a very small portion of the map. Now my plan is to have you come down, and we're going to limit where you can go. So this road going across, everybody in the world will just want to drive off this road and drive right across all the fields. But I'm going to actually put in here, I think, the sheep barn area right in here is the current plan, so that you can't literally, you'll have to take this road to go around this side of the sheep farm, or take the other road to go around the other side. And that's the way I'm going to keep you guys honest and on roads, by just putting things in good places. So that is pretty simple. I'm going to take another look and another drive around and see what I did to mess up the water. I may change it back to where it was, but we'll see. Anything I want to change up here right now? I don't think so. We're going to draw fields in up here. I think I'm going to start doing fields, just because I think not much is going to change. I do want to do some more odd-shaped fields, but only where they're necessary, you know, following the contours of the curved roads down here, not necessarily up here where it's squared off. We'll probably start you off with some nice square fields. And I don't want any really sharp angles either that you can't get a combine around unless they fixed it so it can handle them. Was there anything else I did while you guys weren't away? I don't think so. Yeah, ooh, odd-shaped fields. Well, I want it for aesthetics purposes, but trust me, I am with you guys on harvesting odd-shaped fields. They're not going to be really odd-shaped, you know, and they're not going to be difficult to do because I can't stand it. But it does make the map look better overall. I didn't touch the cow zones and everything. They're still floating in the air because I'm not even drawing in any of those navigation meshes until we know that they're still using the navigation mesh system like they were in the past. Let me save this and jump in. Even auto combine gets lost. Yeah, it's tough. They said they made improvements, so I have to see it first before I start doing it. Are the fields going to have multi-fruits? Most definitely. I'm just not doing a lot of the adding of fruits and foliage because there's been some hints that they changed the way they work. So if they didn't change the way they work, but we'll wait till FS17 comes out. I'm not going to put all the fruits in until we get the basics of what Giants did. I don't want to have to take them all out and do it a new way, which has happened in the past. So they switched the way they work from 13 to 15. So we will cross that bridge and put the fruits in when they release the editor, and we see if they're done the same way. But actually, this time around, I want to really concentrate on the new fruits to be. We want to add some different things, and not necessarily more factories and stuff, but more fruit types is a goal. Bringing in different types of I'd like to see if we can get the vineyard harvester in, if it's convertible and everything, and have the grapes on the vines. That's a whole different style of, I don't know if you guys seen the raisin map, but that thing with the combine, if we can convert it, we'll probably bring that in here somewhere. Peanuts. We wanted to do peanuts. Anything else you guys can think of that you've seen out there that we want to bring some different stuff in, not keep doing the same things. But we also want to have semi-appropriate equipment to do it with too. Let me get back over here. Can't talk and do two things at the same time apparently. But yeah, definitely always a goal to have multi-fruit. I would never have a map with just the standard fruits unless they made me do it because they took out the ability to add them. It would just be too simple for me. I'd get sick of doing wheat and even sunflower. So they added sunflower, soybean. There's a lot of questions. I get more questions out of watching those videos than I do answers a lot of the time. Back to where we were. You notice we don't have that ugly flashing border. The windows are still a little flickery. We'll work on those, maybe see what's causing that window texture. That isn't, I think it's a black strip down the side or something. If you're wondering what caused that, it's two textures overlapping, and it doesn't happen in a 32-bit version, but it happens in 64. I could literally do another border around there too that wouldn't flash now that I got that one off if I want, with those little white boxes that I showed you guys. What I want to avoid though is there's probably a bump here. No, yep, you see where it is? We went up on the curb. It's not too bad, but we should have something so it looks like you actually hit something. And maybe we'll just do the perimeter, a box around it rather than fill the whole thing in. And put a little border around the building that isn't flashing, or cover up. There's still a flashing black line there, which I know we can cover. So we'll look into doing that too with some bordering, but otherwise it's getting better. Getting better. Now let's drive over the water's edge. Now if you remember, we had that weird shadow effect going up. It's still there out in the distance. Didn't quite fix what I wanted to. The water has definitely got like a murky-ish tint to it that it didn't have before from all the messing around we did. And yeah, one way to bring that water in too is just to make that a really wide path around there, because it doesn't happen everywhere. But I'm going to get closer to the water because I do think we have that bluish tint to it. You can tell it's a little bit more messing around. Definitely not the gray like we had. Some of the changes you do too, do not. Yeah, olives would be kind of cool. I'm reading the text there. Orchards. Yeah, we have orchards. We're going to look into doing new things. Obviously, the more new we do, the longer the map's going to take. That's just the way it is. But we can do it over time. I definitely want to. Crops are important to get a new variety, new factory types if we're going to bring in factories. I always take a drive. I probably do this too much, and that's probably what slows down my progress. But I like to see if things are going the way I want them. There is a little bit of green in the roads that I'm going to have to iron out. But this is where we left off, and this is what we just wipe out. This is what we added from here on down. And there's, yeah, still a little bit of green. See, it's so hard to see that in the editor. It's a little bit of green, so we'll blend that a little bit better. And then we're going to go down here, and I'll have to figure out exactly what's going to go down in this area. I'm thinking the BGA will be down here somewhere, and more fields around it. Or maybe just, actually, we need another farm down this far. There are going to be multiple farm areas because you're not going to want to drive your farm equipment from way up there to all around the map. So now that we're down in this corner, we'll probably put another farm area in down here, and that's what we'll work on. Figuring out pineapples. I suck at models. If somebody made me pineapple trees, I'd put them in the map. If remember, all our trees actually work on the universal process kit. There are so many ifs about this whole system that we have no idea if the UPK kit's going to be able to work this time, or if he's going to make a new version for this map for FS17. So it's all up to the modders out there. Now this is the area where if we go down, we can come down and there will be roads around here, and I really did mess up the water pretty good. But it definitely, now you can see, we added that bluish tint that we had, but I think we lost a lot of the detail down here. I don't know if I saved it with the water plane in. It looks like the water plane's missing here. I believe it is. That looks like it's just the bottom of the world. Did I put the water plane back? I probably didn't save it and reload it, which is crucial after you make a change like that, because it didn't redraw the water plane everywhere. That's what it is. We're looking right down to the bottom. That's the underwater fog color without the water ripples on the surface. Over here we have ripples starting, so just loading it up and saving it one more time will fix that. But there you go. We have a lot less wavy. I think I like the effect, but we definitely changed the underwater fog color to a little bit bluer. We can mess with the color. It's all those values. You just got to keep messing with them until you get the effect you want. It doesn't look bad. You can't see the bottom of the lake anymore, which we could see through it before. I don't know if you guys can catch that on the stream. But we definitely made a much more solid looking, less wavy, bluish water with the underwater fog changes, and yeah, you can see through it if you get up close. So I'll continue to tweak it till we have something that looks cool and really different. I think I like the waves they were before, so we'll try to get those back, but the color is getting to where I'd like it to be a little bit bluer, I think, so we'll change the blue scale a little bit more, bring in a little more blue, because right now it just looks murky. But it's not bad. Not bad at all. So you kind of get the idea. The way this map is laid out, there are certain ways, yeah, needs more monster. Yeah, I think so too. It's looking different. So I just wanted to give you guys an in-depth. That's the way you can create something completely different, and that's what I think is cool. Mess with the values. I literally was able to, if you look at my Volcano Island map from FS13, make the water so the waves looked like they were flowing in one direction, and I took the stream. It literally was the stream. So the water was already flowing in one direction, but I slowed it down, tinted it red and yellow solid, so it made it look like lava running down the side, and put it on the side of the volcano. And it worked really awesome. You can do tons of different things with the water just by changing values and experimenting with it. But as you can see as I'm driving around this map, there's a lot of land and a lot of place for fields. I'm picturing like rows of factories and a road all the way down through here, with the factories sometimes on the water side, sometimes, probably more often on the water side, and the road being down over here. But definitely along the water, maybe some beaches and stuff. But the way this landscape is designed is there's not a lot of ways in and out of anywhere. So you're going to, as you expand through and play the map, we're going to let you open up the different areas in different ways and continue on farming. But you can get to a lot of these places, and it's not that I want you to drive all over, but I want to keep you on the roads rather than cutting across fields all the time. We'll give you a really decent road network to work with. And that allows me to add a lot of roadside attractions and things, just I want to put a lot of visuals along those pathways that you have to see while you're driving around, just to make the map look a lot better as you're driving. If I put visuals in and make you go through them. Sort of like, think of it this way. We have the PV Rivers map. There's a really nice laid out city area down there along the waterfront that you never have to go through. You probably do occasionally, but it's not, there's nothing too important inside that area to make you wind down those roads and see what's down there. So you might have to wind down a city street of houses to get to the next factory and stuff like that. I'm not going. Yeah, the roads in PV Rivers are solid roads. When I'm talking about roads, we're going to do probably more terrain-based roads. They're drawn in just like the gravel ones up there. They won't have edges. Yep, I agree. That was the biggest mistake on PV Rivers, is using those roads that had the built-in sidewalks and those nasty edges. I don't want those. Uh, the roads that are down in the city or the waterfront village are much easier. They're a little bit thinner, but I want roads that you can travel on that are not going to, yeah, you guys should know me well enough that I like to play the maps too, and getting stuck on guardrails and getting stuck on road edges and stuff is just not going to be fun. So it won't be there if we get it all right. We'll definitely make it so that the terrain is that they're easy to get around on, but you're going to have to use them. That's all. So we have to resave and reload because we don't have the water texture. That's just the underwater fog without the water texture on top. But if we were to drive off, it's still water. That's the bottom of the map right there. Truck's down there. We're floating above it. We got to clear out some grass. All that fun stuff. So, if we look at the map in the editor, because we have not saved it, and we go to that area, which is down this way, I believe. See, we don't have the water there. The texture of the waves. So what we need to do is save. And basically, that's the problem we had with the bridges, too. Every time the bridges touch the water on the rivers map, the texture would disappear like this because it doesn't draw wherever there's an object or ground. And then if I didn't lift the bridges, save, exit, reload, then put the bridges back down, we would get those gaps underneath. And I bet you the latest version, which reminds me, Big Daddy updated the main file while I was away because some of you guys were having issues with whiskey selling from a box truck at port dock number whatever it is. He fixed that and put it up there. I don't know if he mentioned that for you guys, but if you're having that issue, you could sell it by pallet. It was my bad. I messed it up. He fixed it while I was gone. And I bet you he didn't lift the bridges and put them back down, so there's probably no water under your bridges. No, I don't. I don't clear out the grass until I get to the area. I have been clearing out some of the grass, but as I go around, there we go. Did we get our water back? Please say we did. Oh, you know what? I bet you the water plane isn't centered. I never did. Yeah, it helps if you take your water plane and center it on the map. That's much better. Now we got to save it and reload it again. It was off the edge of the map. I clear out the as I go around the map. I try to focus on one area, except for the major details, and then when I get to this area, and when I finish up the edges and clean up all the edges of the stream, that's when I'll take out because I keep finding it everywhere. So I think what I'll do now for the last few minutes of the show is figure out where things are going to be and kind of mark them like we did the first thing, because I need to know where I'm putting things in order to connect the dots. So we have water here. That's pretty cool. We've got the road network. It's going to come down. It's got to come along the edge. I'm experimenting with other ways. I don't want to have guardrail all the way along the edge of every cliffside, so that's why you might have seen a rock ledge. I might even bring up, I don't even like the rock ledge, and I don't think it's necessary to do it that way when I can just pull up these peaks on the edges. Like, take for instance, right here, we'll make the circle a little bigger and bring up the range here so you can't drive off this edge. And we're just going to make some different terrain changes like that, because having a whole map full of guardrails isn't exactly the prettiest thing either. So we can make edges out of what's already existing to keep you guys honest. No, to keep you from falling off the edges. And a lot of more sculpting is going to be coming in as we hit different areas, but that's one of the ideas right there. I never know what a map's going to look like till it's done, but I do know that we definitely have to keep making some borders. Now, this is, again, a lot of work to, you guys have seen the process, so not the finished look. Then we'll go back and we'll add in the color, and then we'll go back. I'm not going to do all that tonight, but I'm going to make some edges like that to keep you guys from going down there. I still want to keep a lot of the views open. We might even put some buildings and factories along the edges and bring the road in further. We'll have to decide all that as the time goes on. But you do have to consider where people are driving. You want to keep them off. We might even put fences along the edge of some places. And that all has to be done. But here's an area where we'll be able to bring the road down both sides of this, and it goes all the way around. And like I said, I might need more room to put something in here or there, so I might change the way the water runs just by pulling it back up and recoloring it. It's just a basic rough. I mean, there's a lot of water on this map. If we do the ferry again, which would be kind of cool, you can literally drive all the way up into the big bay, all the way back around. We can put factories all the way around these edges, and there's still tons and tons of room for fields. We're going to have a farm up here. I think right now, like we said, we're going to stick, and I'm going to paint in some areas. And like if you were with me early on, I explained to you guys that that's how I do this system. Dirt, big square dirts, it won't stay that way, but it's just a marker. That's where I mark my areas where I want farms to be. Whoa. Select the right tool usually helps. So there's going to be a farm roughly down here. We need to put them far enough away from each other to make them usable. So if I want a farm there, that's pretty cool. Then there's definitely going to have to be, and I'm looking at areas that have a lot of land around them, but I want 4 of them on this map, and maybe not all necessarily. There's going to be, this here is going to be the gravel pit area. Somebody mentioned that that would be a good place, and I like the way it's cut out. So I'm going to just kind of mark that with gravel a little bit so we know that this is going to be, and we'll change the textures and stuff. But that's where the gravel pit area is going to be, down in here somewhere. Kind of give me an idea of where I want things. I'm thinking a farm right up on this edge maybe. Let me see what we got over here. I'm trying to make sure they're far enough apart, but not too close to other things. Like, I don't know if we want to farm that close to the gravel pit, because there wouldn't be many fields on this little peninsula out here. I think I'm going to save that for something else and put the farm along the water's edge this time. Let's see, down. There's a little valley here. Maybe we'll for temporary purposes. Whoops, wrong one. I think I will I'm thinking somewhere about here we'll put a farm. And you gotta go, it goes up everywhere around you, which will make it a pain in the butt, but hey. So that would be number 3 when we get to it. And then something way up this way. Let's find a nice area. Maybe right back in this corner. That'd be kind of cool. We'll put something right here. So we'll work a farm in here somewhere. That way we can put fields on the water side, leading close to factory, and all the way back up here into this area. Up in this area we know the plan is to have forest. So what I usually do would mark that with the leaves texture just for now. This is all going to be forest area in here. The biggest forest probably in the game. And I'm not really marking it out. I'm just sketching. We fill in and fix all the details. I'm just kind of getting a feel for everything as it goes. So we're going to have a pretty huge forest back in this corner with the trees and everything. All the grass will come out. I'm just not going to get close to the edges right now. And we'll add some detail. It's going to be a lot rougher in here than it is right now. It's not going to be just one big flat area, but when we get there. So you're coming out 2 different sides and they're a world away from each other. We also have to think, where do we want our BGA? I'm thinking right over the bridge. We're going to have more fields here, especially with the farm down in the corner. I don't know if I want the BGA area right up here. It's got to be relatively close to the first farm, but we also need animals in up here and everything. So it's either going to be here along this road or just over the bridge on this side, but it's probably more likely going to be over here. Drop a BGA. Let me put some marker. I'm going to put down asphalt for a tentative BGA spot. Subject to change without notice. Our BGA will be built in here somewhere. So yeah, figuring out what's going, and we'll bring in some things. I want to do the BGA differently. We've done it the same in every version of the map just about that we've had. So it'll be a little bit different. We'll look for different designs, different models, but let's see what they come out with in FS17 for us to work with. Hey Lars, how's it going? Thank you for the host. We're almost wrapping up though, and Sergeant iRock and Silly Canadian 72 and Riz 76, Chocapic, all you guys, Scott Dude 1 2 3 4 5. I don't know who else I might have missed, but those are all new followers. Thank you very much. So we've got a lot of roads to do, a lot of pathing to figure out. One thing I've always been terrible at is making it so people are always driving on grass and the roads don't matter. Well, this time we're going to really try to make them matter by probably with the BGA here. We are going to have pigs. We're going to put more, well, let's see, we have the cow area is going to be here. I like the fact that we'll be able to see it. So there's probably going to be more barns in over here for animals. A lot of this thin area will be great, so you'll be driving down the road and seeing the sheep or the pigs and having barns in and stuff. And we might even have some in this area up here too before we get into fields down below for another bigger farm that's down there. So probably from here on out we'll have a whole bunch of fields because it looks like it'll be... But one thing we got to remember too is there's going to be a train system. So I don't think this part up here is going to have the train as much, but it definitely has to run past the lumber yard and through the factories. So we're going to probably have to leave spots for a train system that goes from the lumber area here around. I want to utilize it a lot, so I want to make it go all the way past all the factories along the waterway and things like that. We might even have to put a train bridge across, like here, and cut across and go down along the edges. So because we can drive the train, and there's going to be some cool apparatus for unloading trees and grain and stuff in the FS17, we want to make sure we can utilize the train to its fullest potential when it comes in. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we got a lot of things. I have no idea what's going to end up. That's what's cool. When I start designing, I have a basic idea, but I just keep going at it and changing things until you never know how it works. How do you set the BGA up to get it working on a map? That is a good question. The best way? Import one that's already built. That's what I've always been doing. And all the settings are there. I'll show you real quick, but we're not going to keep the BGA because I want to do a different style. There was another style one. We're going to mix it up a little bit. But if we open up the rivers map, for instance, we'll do that, and then we'll call it an evening for this. Tomorrow, or Thursday night, I'll be back. We'll do some Farm Expert and see if they actually made improvements on it. I'm not expecting it to be Farm Sim, but the 2016 version, the multiplayer didn't work very good, but some of the features in there are kind of cool, and if they're supposed to allow modding as well. To what extent, I don't know. We'll look into that. But my theory is, right now they've already added several features that we already have in Farm Sim, but they were desperately needed, like hooking trailers together to have trains and stuff. What was I looking for? A BGA. But the multiplayer's got to work and the modding's got to work. If they have a decent basis and modders can tweak things and bring in better equipment and do things, then the game could become a lot better than it ever was. So what I do is I'm going to highlight this whole BGA. It's in the BGA folder. And again, File, Export Selection with Files. And I'm going to go into my map, and in the Models folder, or I'm going to just make a new folder called BGA, and I'm going to probably delete this one at some point because I don't want to use this one again. But Export Selection with Files, name it BGA, and click Save. It's already in the folder of the other map. It saves steps. I used to copy it to desktop and then bring the whole thing over, but why? You know, you can export that and don't make any changes right into the folder structure of this map. So when I go to get it, there it is, and I didn't even put it in. Yeah, it's in the BGA folder, and all these are files that came with it. Open it up. You got the whole folder there with the whole BGA in it, and we know the BGA is going to be roughly over here. So highlight that, left control B, click. Now when you're highlighting a group, sometimes the axis of the group is nowhere near the object that you imported, so we have to find it. A lot of times you got to raise it up, look around, it's over there, which is a pain in the butt, but we know where it has to go, so we're just gonna drag the arrows. That's the one way to keep a BGA all intact is copy the whole group and bring it down to the ground level so we know where it is actually. And I just de-highlighted the group and I'm way underground. But we know, and it's sometimes very hard to position things by using this, but if you get it close, then just take your Y translation, which is at 0.348. If we go to 0.35 and just work it till we have the legs of the fences exactly where we want, like that, looks pretty good. We'll get the right height. Then we'll drag it to where we want it, and we can extend the platform underneath it. So we know, let's see, we have asphalt. We can paint the entrances in now. And literally, if you're creating maps for the first time, you can find other maps. There's a million out there. That's what I do. I steal stuff. No. But you can find the cool components. All you have to remember when you do it this way is to make sure you're at the right levels, so your piles are still in the same exact position they were on the other map. We got the whole piece, and that is literally a fully functioning BGA without making any changes. Now, change my radius down to 4. We'll make the little roads in and out. And like I said, I'm not going to keep this one, but it's a placeholder for now. Your new BGA will not stop me. Yeah, the Sultan of Silage has spoken. But yeah, so you know there's gates here, so you can extend the road out, and if you have no place to go, you can go back to the front or whatever. But like I said, it's going to be a little bit different when you find all this weird textures. See, the thing is, I got to figure out which one it is. It's a mixture of 2 different textures on the ground here. So I got to delete the one. And let's see what other one it is. Is it this one? No. I don't know what they look like. Handlework? No. I'm sorry, I don't know my flowers. There it is. Get rid of that. There you go. A BGA, fully functioning. You can go at it. You have no grass to harvest yet in this map, but you will. And that is as simple as a working things. Now, a BGA doesn't have any scripts attached to it because it's a giants thing. Other objects may have scripts that run. Take a look at your different things. You can make a lot of edits on something like a BGA facility. You have all these crazy little values here. There's several different things, and a lot of it you don't want to change. Like, what do we have on here? This BGA.onCreate is what makes it function as a BGA. Your tip trigger indexes are all pointing to your tip triggers. You just go into the user attributes, and there's a bunker roll speed. You can make it so the bunker rollers, I think that's these rollers in, well, I know there were rollers in somewhere. Might be the old rollers. Remember the one you used to dump in the pit from they might even held over. But there are values you can change, and somewhere in that BGA we have the capacities. All right, so here you have it. So your tip trigger on the BGA. Here, let's unhighlight that so we can see what we've got highlighted. There's a tip trigger right there. It takes silage. You could literally take your tip trigger and add in a space and put wood chips in. You can don't tell the Sultan of Silage this, but you could put grass in there, and then you wouldn't even have to use the BGA. You could change your price multiplier for that tip trigger. Just look at all the different pieces, and anything that has a user attributes section has something you can change. It's relatively simple and straightforward once you get used to it. Here, for instance, we've highlighted the liquid manure tank. It has a capacity of 800,000, and you don't need to change the move max. That is the position of the field, of the manure itself. This plane that's in the bottom, which is right there, that tells it where the top is. That's the 0.7 or whatever it was. 0.7 and 0.57 is the bottom. Oops, you got to have the field selected by itself. But that's what that does. That changes so you know when it's empty and full. But you can change the value of the capacity to 2 million if you wanted to up fix that. Just look at the values. Capacities usually can be changed to whatever you want. You don't need to mess with the min-max values because they're already set properly if you imported it. And just keep going down the different parts of the BGA. You'll eventually find bunker silos right here. Each of my bunker silos on my map, the 4 of them, have a capacity of 900,000. So if you wanted to change your capacities, and they're running a giant script bunker silo on create. So that runs the giant script. It's built in, and you don't have to link to it. That's one of the Lewis scripts that's built into the giant engine. Just like the water one has an on create. If there's a script that isn't in Giant's engine, you would have to install the script. We'll be doing a lot of that much later on. But we could change the capacity of all the bunkers by highlighting each of the individual bunker silos and changing the capacities. Any of the user attributes that look editable, you guys, when you're making your maps, you can achieve completely different things. You could separate these 4 bunkers and move them to the farms. We've done that in maps in the past. You just need to take the bunker silo and the set of walls. We'd need to get different walls because these are all connected. It's one piece, but you could get a single wall system. There's lots of them out there. And you can literally make it so, I believe, Hagenstedt had just one at the cow barn originally. But you can not have a BGA and just have silage pits at each of the 4 individual farms. Lots of different things you could do. Just add zeros to the capacity. Yeah, like 20 million. I don't know what if there's a max on that, but you can definitely do up to like 10 million, I think. No problems. Liters per hour, I'm sure that's all in there somewhere. Let's see. I don't know if the liters per hour maybe sometimes that stuff is controlled by the script that it's calling, and I didn't see. We have the tip triggers, the moving planes, a lot of things, but I don't know if there's a value for liters per hour built into that. But there's mods out there that do include that value, so you can mess with it. There may be also a way to edit it somewhere else. I don't know. So I hope that answered your BGA questions. Or actually, if you're creating your first map, it's a lot easier sometimes to just bring something in. It's so easy. Prior to the 15 version, you couldn't just export something with all the files. You had to export the object, then find all the graphics and bring those over too, and it was so much more difficult. But that file export selection with files, they only had export selection, which just gives you a i3D file. Doesn't copy the textures or anything. Now that they have it with all the files, it makes it so much easier to take something out of one map and move it to another. Thank you so much, Breeze Punishers, for the follow. And I hope you've been here a while because the show is about to end. I will be back, like I said, on Thursday if all goes well and the release of Farm Expert. We're going to check that out on release day, see if it's worth the investment. One of the things I do know is it's $18.99 US, and compared to FarmSyn, it only has to be half as good because it's half the price. No, but I think I played around with the 2016 version. I think they're always going to be a step or 2 or 3 or 4 behind, but there are some pretty cool things in there that I found. I think there were at least 10 things, I did it on a previous broadcast, in 2016 that Farming Simulator could implement, and they actually have in this latest version, so they might have been watching my broadcast. One of the things they don't think they implemented, they do have coming up in Farming Simulator 2017 a vehicle wear. So your vehicle will slowly deteriorate and you have to bring it to the shop, and eventually it makes it so you're going to have to replace it because you're just not going to get the functionality out of it. That's already been in Farm Expert, along with, and I don't know if Giants is going to do this, but you guys know how the dirt textures work when you're driving in Farming Simulator and you drive through mud and your vehicle gets dirty. Well, in Farm Expert they have the same system, but they have a separate file that is a worn file. So as your vehicles age, they get all cracked fenders. It looks really cool. Something that I think Giants should do. And it's definitely something different. Then when you take it to the repair shop and repair it fully, you get the whole new paint job back and everything. But you could tell your vehicle's aging. One of the things I also found cool watching the Farm Expert videos were that if you have a vehicle that's really badly beat up, he sat there and had to literally try to start the tractor 3 times before it would actually start. So you're going to lose. It's just more realism on that aspect. So we're going to take a look at that on Thursday, and we'll see what we think. I'm going to keep an open mind, and we'll go with it and see how it goes. You got a defective CPU cooler. That stinks. Anyhow, guys, thanks for showing up. I am glad to be back, and we'll be here a lot more often now. My vacation's over, and there's a lot coming down the pipe, so we'll continue working on this project to a point where we can, and then we'll obviously be continuing it much more once Farming Sim 17. But we're going to take a look at Farm Expert and see if we can do any modding on that too, and if it's even worth it, or and how the gameplay is, and if they made improvements and stuff on Thursday. So thanks guys for showing up, and we'll be back on Thursday around 8 p.m. Eastern time, same time. Have a wonderful night.